Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the football universe. You're very welcome to the very special edition of the Football Love Lounge on this Valentine's Day. I am joined by three other lovers of football, Colm, Ross, and making his debut, Frank. I'd like to welcome Frank. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm feeling great, guys. Really pleased to be on the show. Really pleased to talk football.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those that don't know, Frank is a real life buddy of Ross and made the correct choice in supporting a proper team, and that is Manchester United. So we love to see it. Now, it is Valentine's Day, and a family that is showing their love for football, despite being rumored with selling Manchester United, is Joel and Avon Glazier. And they love football so much that they're willing to shelve everything that they get from their portion of the sale to buy Liverpool Football Club. That would be something you would love to see. Colm, talk to me.
I wouldn't want Liverpool. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, and Liverpool pretty much are my worst enemies. I feel so sorry for him if they actually do that.
Absolutely. Now, we do have some housekeeping to do. As you can see, I'm wearing an appropriate hoodie for this next segment. We are partnered with Rate Energy. Rate Energy is an energy drink solution that is healthier than those off the shelf fizzy drinks that you see in store. To get your discount, go to rates.com and type in FTSN22 on checkout, where you will get 10% off. Thank you, Rate Energy. It does exactly what it says in the tin. And no, it's not Ronseal. Yes, indeed. Colin's trying to show that he's got more rate than me. God damn it. I know where to find you. But keeping on the theme of Valentine's Day, we want to talk about something that is dear to us, and that is our love of football. And what player gave us the love for our club as it stands? Ross, as you are in the minority, 3-1 in terms of Manchester United versus Villa, sir, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, and good evening to you, lovely panelists. Happy Valentine's Day. We all love football, and that's why we're here together. Uh, Look, there's so many amazing players that I've been privileged enough to watch as over my time as being an Aston Villa fan, and it's helped me fall in love with the club even deeper. Just on the top of my head, you can think about Paul McGrath. You can think about Gareth Barry, Ashley Young, who's still at the club, and right now you can argue that he is a legend. But for me, most definitely the player that sticks out the most has to be Gabriel Hall. He's our record goal scorer for Aston Villa. He's a lifelong Villa fan as well. He's a one club man. He's been there, and oh, I can't describe enough, and it feels like I'm insulting whenever I try and put an adjective to him on how he makes me feel and how he made me feel more connected to the club that I love. But Gabriel Bonglo epitomizes my feeling for Aston Villa. He's always been there through the good and the bad times, and he has given us an amazing history.
I will give you his ability on the pitch, but he does talk a lot of crap in talk sport. I'm sorry, Ross. He really, really does. But
We let us football do the talking.
Frank, over to you.
It was for me. Well, as a more modern day United fan, the legends of the game, the team that I support, I'm not really familiar with them, but I'm familiar with the more modern day, the more relatable ones. Speaking about Wayne Rooney, the top. He's not only the goals he scored for the club, but what he represents for the modern game. Because he was one of the first footballers who can adapt to multiple positions. Because he started out played wide, played striker, then as the latter stages of his career dropped into midfield. That was very interesting to see, and the way he did it with such fluidity, that was really great. Especially at that point in time where United were uh, the Mourinho era, where he was his latter stages of being in the team. He didn't get much game time, but also chasing the record. Where the team was going through difficult times, but he was always there, in assisting the younger players, trying to do well for the team, things like that. What a player! What a player!
Absolutely, absolutely. Got to agree with you there. Before I get to Colin, I'm going to give my spokes briefly. As you know, as a proud Irishman, my club has been heavily associated with one of my countrymen being in the team. We've had such prestigious talents as Darren Gibson, Liam Miller, John O'Shea, Roy Keane, amongst others over the years. But the player other than King Eric that brought me to the love of Manchester United was Dennis the Menace Irwin. Consummate professional, always gave everything on the pitch, had a nice little dinky of a free kick too. Even though he played alongside David Beckham, that free kick was very much underrated. I think it's one single career red card and absolutely a Manchester United legend.
Yeah, I've got to agree. He is an absolute legend. I mean, for me, despite his recent history, the player that made me fall in love with Manchester United was Ryan Giggs. He wore the number 11 shirt, and I was born on the 11th day of the 12th month. So it was kind of fitting that my favourite player in Manchester United wore that shirt. And on his heyday, he was one of the best wingers in the world. The amount of times we've heard if Ryan Giggs chose to play for England, we might have won a World Cup. I still fully believe that. I really do believe that if Ryan Giggs played for England, we would have won a World Cup. So he made me fall in love with Manchester United. But I just want to throw in who made me fall in love with an actual position that I play, and that is Peter Schmeichel. He made me fall in love. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a goalkeeper and I've done my coaching and everything like that. He made me fall in love with the goalkeeping position because of just how he was, how commanding he was. Season after season, he was so solid, and he made me fall in love with goalkeeping.
It's kind of apt that you mentioned Ryan Giggs because our topic tonight is offside, and he very much had an offside flag raised against him for his extracurricular activities. So let's get into the controversy column that is VAR. I think I'm going to let you take the lead in presenting Exhibit A.
Yes, no problem. So not all these are offside. Some of them are handball calls, and some of them are, fouls and stuff. So I'm going to bring this one up. This was not checked by VAR. So as you can see, a ball is coming in from the corner there, and there's a bunch of players in the middle. But if you just focus on the two players just at the edge of the box, you can clearly see one of them is getting his hair pulled in the box. Now, the referee didn't see it, and I believe VAR didn't even check it either. This obviously wasn't this season. I don't believe it was this season anyway. This is one of the issues with VAR. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this decision by the referee and the VAR.
Well, the side of me that wants to be a bit malicious says you should have the streamlined haircut, and then you won't be running into that sort of an issue. But Frank, I think I'm going to let you start because you are the debutant. What do you think about that not going to VAR?
Well, this, if I'm not mistaken, is the Spurs and Chelsea game. I think it was this season, Combs. I'd really
was
Cucurella and on Romero. He's pulling his hair to a corner. I don't know how the referee doesn't spot this actually, because I believe if the referee is not on the right hand side of the picture, he sees this clearly. So, and VAR is at work, so this should have been reviewed. But it clearly, if it was deemed not clear and obvious. So play continued. But this is, I don't know how it's not a foul, actually. I really don't know. Because unless the rules have changed since watching the games, I'm really not familiar. I don't know how it's not a penalty. Oh,
I will ask you this. Obviously, maybe the Premier League Commission just feels sorry for Tottenham Hotspur at this stage and thinks, that they need that extra hand to even be competitive in a game of football.
It really is difficult to tell why this wasn't given. But yeah, maybe it was the case that people feel sorry for Tottenham trying to let things go.
Collins was shaking his head that it only took me about 2 minutes to get into some Spurs slander. Ross.
Yeah, I just have to concur with Frank. I mean, it's quite silly that none of this was actually brought up. Look, usually a foul like that would be a straight penalty and a booking offense. When you think about VAR, just in general, a lot of it is inconsistent, and we've been saying this a lot over the last couple of months. But the reason why it could be inconsistent is because it's all human error. And we saw that the Premier League came out to the statement apologizing for the human error. But it's actually not good enough. It's not good enough because it happens all the time. And yes, we appreciate the honesty, but all they've done prior to this is just cover it up with some sort of wishy-washy rule that make up last minute to cover their backs. And they've seen that it's caught up to them now, and they've obviously now done the right thing and apologized. But that's not why VAR was brought in the first place. It's supposed to aid the refs and the linesmen and all the officials when making decisions, or if they miss a decision like this, it can go back, and if it is clear and obvious like this is, because I do believe it is clear and obvious, then it can be brought to the ref's attention. I don't know. I don't know if it's coming from a Villa fan. We've seen a lot of decisions go opposite our way, and I sometimes think that the Premier League are at work favouring Big Six with certain decisions, and maybe they could be trying to help out Tottenham with a cheeky missed decision here. Who knows? But it's something that needs to be rectified immediately.
I've got to agree. But just speaking what Ross is saying now about...
Sorry, Colum, before you go into that, I do have VAR in my ear, and they're telling me that FIFA has selected Saudi Arabia to host the 2023 Club World Cup in December 12th to 22nd.
Yay. But no, I'm going to try and go through these as quickly as possible. So, Ross has just said there about Villa. Now, I'm going to bring one up that I know Ross won't like. It's not necessarily Villa or anything like that, but it's one that, for a football fan, when it comes to VAR, annoys a lot of people. And this one really annoyed me. It really did. So, obviously, this is Chelsea and West Ham. Now, Bowen has gone over Mendy there. Barely any contact whatsoever. Obviously, the result from that is the West Ham get another shot and the ball goes in. However, it is deemed that Mendy has been fouled and the goal has been ruled out. VAR checked it and they agreed. However, when you watch the actual replay, there is no foul on Mendy whatsoever.
Now, the thing is, as a goalkeeper, Colum, I'm going to ask you this question. If you commit and you make yourself attack the ball, and you're probably not in control of your dive once you commence it because your momentum is going to carry you. If you make every effort, like Bowen has, to hurdle the goalkeeper, surely if there's any incidental contact, it's not your fault.
So, as a goalkeeper, and this has happened to me many times, it happens more often than what you actually realise. If I'm coming out and collecting this ball, such as what Mendy's doing or trying to, and I've got down low and I've managed to get that ball first, and, a Bowen happens to come over and is trying to jump over me, and maybe his leg does touch me, I would not react how Mendy reacts at all. Mendy acts like he's been shot. That's how he reacts from this. You go, he's gone over me, right, I need to get up and get to the second ball. He knew he was in trouble, which is why he played it as if it was a hard tackle on him.
Now, is that Mendy's persona as a player, or is that the instruction that the modern coach is giving their players? If there's an opportunity to get out of jail by claiming a foul, you do it, and you make sure you make it look as bad as possible.
Well, if that's the case, then... these managers need fining because it's simulation.
Yeah, and if I can also just add to that, I'm sure we've seen a lot of times in Sunday League football, or even playing football growing up, and Cole might be more aware of this since he played as goalkeeper. Mendy's realized he's made a mistake there, and we know that goalkeepers are protected, which is fine. But when you make a mistake like that, you try and bait the referee for a foul, so they rule out whatever happened after that play ends and the new one commences. And like you said, the goal was ruled out after this, and it's something that I've seen personally. A lot of goalkeepers try and do, because they do mistime their dives, or they had a lapse of concentration. They've realized they've spilled something, and they do make a meal out of the attacker maybe making the slightest of contact. So the way I see it is just him Mendy using his initiative to try and bait the referee into awarding Chelsea a free kick.
I do have to agree, but I want to know if Frank agrees with me on this theory that I have. So if this was the other way around, yeah, and Bowen went over Mendy, would the referee have given it as a penalty?
Given this a penalty. Well, another thing we have to remember is that everything here is happening very quickly, right? If I believe in transition. So the referee, when he sees this, he sees Mendy go down, Bowen hurdling over him, right? Which seemingly may look as if he is affecting Mendy's ability to save the ball, which then results to a goal, and then Mendy play acting. That can be perceived as a foul. And with VAR, it is the decision of the referee that has the final say. So if the referee deems this not, if VAR deems it not clear and obvious, meaning that it doesn't go against what the referee's ruling was, then it sticks to it. So it's a tricky one, but I don't know. There has to be more. How can I put this? It's just the rulings have to be changed a little in order to assess these cases.
Absolutely. And Colin, before you go on to the next one, I can say this now because it is up on Twitter. I want to wish our congratulations to our fellow colleague Britt on the birth of his child that was born yesterday. So congratulations, Britt, from all of us here on FTSN.
Massive congratulations. I'm going to stick with the goalkeeper for now. This is another one. This is quite a well-known one as well. So as you can see here, Newcastle versus Palace. This is given as a free kick because the Newcastle player goes into the Crystal Palace's goalkeeper. However, VAR did check it as well, and they got this call wrong. Mitchell actually pushes the airbound player there. I can't remember who the player was. Maybe one of you guys will remember. Into his own goalkeeper.
Willock. Is that Isaac?
Willock. Yeah, so Mitchell pushes Willock into his own goalkeeper, and the referee blows for a free kick. VAR check it, and they agree with the referee.
Frank, go ahead.
Oh, yet again. Well, these decisions, when VAR checks this incident, right? Surely it should, because it's not as clear as one may see. So can't they then decide to tell the referee to go check the monitor and let the referee, who has already have the field the game, assess the situation? Because the referee just made a split-second decision in real time, which he may not have the full idea of what's going on. He only has his view, which might be obscured by other defenders around him. But if you were to check the monitor, maybe the right decision would have been made.
See, the question I have is on the replay, because I've watched all these back. I've watched them again just to make sure. On the replay that the VAR sees, you can very clearly see him push. Very clearly. So why have VAR turned around and said it is not a clear and obvious error?
I think in that case, the foul might not have been in the line of sight of the referee, because Mitchell knew what he's doing there. There's no denying that. But from the referee's eye view, it might not have been clear to him then. I still think, the whole definition by clear and obvious, it's actually ironic because a lot of it becomes quite unclear. You don't know where to draw the line anymore. And with decisions like this, it should be rectified if it's wrong. There's no, oh, it's wrong, but if something, or this is happening because X and Y. No, if it's wrong, it's wrong. It's like with offside decisions, where people say, and they get quite upset, that, oh, he was offside by just a little bit of his pinky toe. Yes, but he's offside, end of. Same with situations like this. It's a foul, end of. There's no ifs or buts. And I think that's when we need to start drawing the line.
So, Ross, I'm a centre back. You're a big powerhouse striker. You're running through and you leap at a beautifully flighted ball from Cullum to get your noggin on it to knock it into the net. I see Frank coming out from goal. I can see that his goal will be beached. So what I do is I get my hands and I shunt you so that you collide with Frank. Have I fouled you, or by virtue of the fact that you've taken out the goalkeeper, that you should be getting a free against you?
Look, for me, that counts as a foul because you know what you're doing. Firstly, you know that there's some sort of malice to that. Maybe not quite high, but it's intentional. It's not like they both went for an aerial ball and Mitchell tried to make it 50-50. He's actually gone to try and push the defender off his original part that he's leaping to, which is fine if the aerial ball was contested, but in this case it isn't. And that's where I have my problem with this. Mitchell knows what was happening, and he created potentially a very dangerous scenario between not only Willock but the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper's leaping forward as well. And like, okay, maybe they might not think about this in the split second, but these are the ramifications of what could have happened from somebody's lapse of concentration here. And this is why referees and VAR need to be more on the ball and draw lines where they see things are wrong. Because who's to say that goalkeeper might have taken the collision quite badly and landed horribly, whether he landed on his head, on his back, or his side. And we've seen horrendous goalkeeping injuries in the Premier League. This could have been one of them. Thank God it wasn't. But it's been, this whole foul or the whole situation has actually gotten away from an example that could have been set.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, before we move on to some of the more obvious fouls that were never given, and some cards issues and stuff, I've just got something here. Now, obviously, everybody knows about this infamous goal that Manchester United scored very recently against Manchester City. Well, I have something here. So, Manchester City go on and score from this position. As you can see, the player there with the little yellow dot has just headed the ball forward. So that is phase of play. However, this guy, just on his own, the little blue man you can see there, is currently in an offside position. He comes back from this offside position and dispossesses, I think it's Mings, who gets there.
Yes.
It's still the same passage of play. And they go on and score, and the goal counts. Why?
This actually had a lot of Villa fans debating about, now where do you start drawing? Because now we're getting quite technical and we're starting to micro dissect, which is fine because it's always good to have football conversations like this. Excuse me. It's always good to have conversations like this because it opens up our eyes to different interpretations. Now, I was quite upset when the goal was given because he's clearly offside. He's come back on to dispossess the ball. But where they considered, this was according to the Premier League statements, they considered a new passage of play because Mings took control of that header and he took a couple touches, might have been 1 or 2 touches, and it looked like he was starting a new play from there, and that's when he got dispossessed. I still feel that it's quite harsh considering how far offside the Man City players come to dispossess Tyrone Mings. I find that quite unfair. It is a tough one.
That Man City player is Rodri. That's who that is. That is Rodri. But my question is, and this would really annoy me, if I was Tyrone Mings, this would really annoy me. Like, the ball's got headed forward. I know he's offside. So he can't come and get that ball. I know he's offside. So that gives me a little bit more time to control the ball and then get it away. But if he's coming from an offside position and he can tackle me straight away, how is that fair? Surely the rules for this offside to avoid things like this need to be a lot clearer and told to the players before every single game. If somebody's offside and the ball goes forward, but you control it and he's coming back from an offside position, he's allowed to tackle you. And then you all go, okay, fair enough.
Well, think about how many times, sorry, Rebel. If you think about how many times we played football as kids, right? And we might have been in an offside position. And as soon as the play starts catching up, I don't know if you guys have done this, but I'm sure in South Africa with myself and Frank would have seen this. Our players that are offside and start coming back on lift up their hands so they know that, okay, they realize they're off. They're not interfering with play until a new one is clearly defined. And then we start the press to win possession back. So it is a bit weird how we didn't have that understanding from when we play Sunday League or even from schoolboy age football. But now you got to the Premier League and different rules apply. It makes it quite confusing. Continue, please, Rebel.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the offside rule has changed so much that I don't think even the rule makers actually understand the intention of the offside rule at this stage, because it's been completely and utterly bastardized from its original simple format. Like, for me, even looking at the VAR context of this, when they go to a VAR offside decision, if you cannot see that person is offside from glancing at the still at the point of contact, you're wasting your time. Like, I know they want to be perfect and they want to go down to the millimeter, but going to that level of zoom, it just seems like it's an overbearing workload. If you can see, if from the naked eye that, say, Roger in this case is clearly offside at the phase of play, then that's what you do. But if you have to kind of zoom in on their pinky toe, the process has gone too technical and too far wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I agree with that.
I agree. Just to add to that, when the header is made, Rodri is clearly offside, right? Do they count that the phase of play has changed once Mings has made an opening to go for the ball, or do they not? I'm very confused as to what phase of play has altered in this not being offside. That is very confusing.
You see, this is the issue because we've seen many, many things. I mean, I've watched United games, where passages of plays have happened. It's come off a defender. We've put the ball in the back of the net and they've called it offside. It's like, well, surely that's a new phase of play because the defender's touched it. But no, it's not. So surely this goal shouldn't have stood because the defender's touched it, but it's still on offside position. So it needs to be more consistent. That's what I think we're asking for, really. One last quick one on an offside, and then I'll quickly do the last two because I am weary of time. I'll start off with Frank on this one. So here we are. This is Ollie Watkins is offside in this one, I believe. I mean, it's a very, very tight call, but I don't think that line's right because they've done it from his arm. But if they've done it from his arm, then surely, they need to do it from the guy on the farthest at the top of the screen, his arm.
They got that so wrong. I think that's Kufal. Who's that? Aston Villa?
Villa are defending here, I think, aren't they?
No, they're playing West Ham.
They're playing West Ham, so that's Kufal. Yes, that's Kufal. They should have judged the line from, is it the sleeve? So the sleeve of Kufal, right? That would have given Watkins a yard onside. Yard onside, because they're judging it from the man marking Watkins, which is wrong, because that's not the last man. The last man is Kufal.
Yeah, but even when I look at that, and I look at the West Ham defender, don't know if it's Boufal or Kufal. If I look at the way the line's drawn, it's drawn to his knee. It's not even drawn to his shoulder. And that's just
Yeah.
giving them the benefit of the doubt that it hasn't been taken to Ogbonna, which is the player that's marking Mings and trying to, marking Watkins and trying to put him off. So that line is not straight, because if you take that offside line and put it towards the West Ham defender on the far side, his shoulder was armpits, which is still deemed as part of his body and not as his arm, then Watkins would be onside by a yard.
But the thing I'm having issues with this is the line for Watkins is here on his
Yes.
elbow. So why is it not on the elbow of the defender? Again, VAR just putting lines wherever they want to. It's causing too many issues. They just need to set it as one place and just keep it there.
But even just looking at that, if you're taking the head of Watkins as the baseline, that looks like it's still a head of. Now, he can't stop the ball with his elbow either. If you're taking it from his knee, Watkins would still arguably be ahead of that leftmost hand West Ham player, wouldn't he?
It's really hard to tell with obviously this angle, because if you're looking at it bang on down the line, you get a different view. You know, they might be in line, or like you said, they might still be ahead. We don't know, but it's just the fact that, you know, they haven't put the lines on there correctly at all.
True. And I think I'm going to ask Frank this before we move on from offsides. Obviously, each ground has their VR camera positions in different views. So the thing when you're looking at these dead balls is the perspective that's given to the VAR official, depending on where the camera is, could be completely and utterly different. Should there be a consistency in positioning of cameras so that the angle is always consistent?
Yes, they should. They should. There are in the Premier League. There's many views of cameras of how well players are positioned, of the goal when it's scored or offensive play has been made. There's many angles, right? That's give you an idea as clear as possible as to how the goal or offensive play may have happened. So there should be a consistency, including with this one here, because they judged the line from the defender marking Watkins, whereas they should have judged it from the furthest man, which was clearly the defender on the far side. So if they've done that, they would have given it onside. And these moments define games, because that may have been the difference between 3 points and 1 or 0, which may have altered the position of the team in the log. So they should clearly fix that.
Well, I am gonna skip this one, and I'm gonna just go to my last one, because I am, like I said, wary of the time. Now this is a big controversy. Casemiro on the bottom there gets a straight red card, straight red, and he's not even gripping his neck, he's got his collar, which is very clear to see. But when VAR reviewed it, they never showed the referee that angle of him grabbing the collar, which is a big, massive one anyway. But the top one there, I think that's more aggressive. It's Cody in it on Robinson last night. Yeah. I mean, I watched that game. I did the watch along. I thought he was going to get sent off, but what happened? Nothing.
The question here, I think, Colum, and this is what I'm going to post to Ross and Frank, is assuming, and I think a lot of us don't doubt that Casemiro probably, on hindsight, shouldn't have been in that position and deserved his red. If you're going to apply that to that particular situation, and your VAR and the very next big moment that comes up is what's above us here, which is Cody pretty much doing the exact same grip and even tighter on Robinson, how can you not make sure that you're not hitting the same result every single time when you set a precedent on Casemiro?
Look, when I looked at this, right, and I watched that game where United versus with Hughes. Who's that? It's with Casemiro. Yeah, with Hughes and when Casemiro. I saw that incident, And you don't even need VAR to work out exactly how the situation went. We know Will Hughes is a wind-up merchant. Obviously, with that altercation, he's going to try and bait people into a reaction. But after this, once they had cooler heads, Will Hughes and Casemiro still kissed and made up in the season of Valentine's, and they gave each other little friendly pats on the back. And Will Hughes was smiling, and they jogged off. They brought it back, and they've made something seem malicious when really it wasn't. Because the way I see it, Casemiro is just trying to break up the body so that nothing else ends up becoming worse than it is, and he's just basically trying to cool off the incident that's at play. Will Hughes, it's not like Will Hughes dived or tried to make a meal of this. I don't understand. The referee could have seen this just with his own basic knowledge that there's nothing serious that's gone on here, because it's not like there's another altercation that's happened from this incident. It's just something that happens. It was handbags. That's all it was. They went at it. After they cooled off, they apologized and they went off on their own ways. VAR brought it back, and fine, they stamped authority, which is okay. But as you say, it needs to be linear across all teams and all games. But this in the Merseyside derby, I don't understand. You know that has a reputation for things getting heated. If you wanted to stamp something out, that is the incident and that is the game to do so. But you can't let one lie and the other one not, because that has huge ramifications for Casemiro and his games he'll be suspended for.
Indeed, you're right, Ross. Indeed, you're right. This in the Merseyside derby, there's reputations of it getting feisty, getting players are aggressive. Liverpool are in a very awkward period in the season. Everton also want to climb up the league, get off relegation, stay in the league, and it's going to be a feisty affair, right? But this Casemiro incident, which ended up calmer because they reconciled with Hughes, right, after this incident, but he still got the red card. Whereas over here, it's more aggressive and there's more intense on violent conduct, and nothing was given by VAR nor the referee. So the rules really, they have to review what exactly they how to manage games, because this cannot stand.
Colm, I want to ask the final point to you. The premise of VAR is supposed to be addressing clear and obvious error. And as we can clearly see, there's a lack of consistency to what is considered a clear and obvious error. And there is an official from last weekend, due to an error that he made in the Arsenal game, is being stood down for next weekend. How much of a problem does the chief of refereeing, I think that's Howard Webb at the moment, have in getting this thing streamlined?
He's got his work cut out for him. He really, really does, because there is so many inconsistencies throughout every single match. You know, look, we could look towards the end of the season, and that error that cost Arsenal could cost them the title. That's basically, down to it. That error could have cost them the title, because now, how many points is there between them and City? 2, 1,
5, isn't it?
No, City won, didn't they? So it's 2.
Is it 2? Yeah, with the game, and Arsenal had the game in hand. So that's right.
But 2 points, and then they play each other on Wednesday. If City win, they go top. If that decision didn't go against Arsenal, they would have still had a little bit of a buffer with the games in hand as well. So that could have cost Arsenal a title. I don't know what needs to be done, but it's not my job.
Sorry, Colm, it's 3 actually. My apologies.
Is it 3 points?
Yeah.
Well, regardless, I think they've got a better goal difference than Arsenal anyway, so they'd still go top. But yeah, he's got a massive job, and I just hope he can sort it, because it really needs it.
Absolutely. Now, I do hate to end this discussion here. Frank, you made an absolutely wonderful debut. I hope you'll come back again, because it is good to see a proper football fan from South Africa come on with a proper sports team.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure being here.
Presenting Benny McCarthy.
Here, I will have nothing bad said about Benny. He's after turning Rashford into an absolute goal fiend this year. And just in case anybody has forgotten, me and Cullum have a little bit of a bet going on. And Cullum is getting ever closer to performing a spicy jelly forfeit. He will be consuming those jellies before end of season. I can guarantee you that.
We'll see. We will see.
Remind us of the bet there before we go.
There's the Cullum stupidly decided to show me a packet of spicy jellies, and I think you were supposed to have the bet with somebody else, but he didn't show. So in absentia, I decided to offer him the goal amount, and that goal amount is 18 Premier League goals for Marcus Rashford before the end of the season. I think Rashford is 6 away from that now.
Yeah, he is. Yes, but a little update for you. Obviously, AC Milan and Tottenham are currently playing. It is 1-0 to AC Milan.
Shock horror. Tottenham Hotspur losing? Never would have thought that. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always. We will be back again next week. But for now, good night, God bless, and see you next Tuesday.